This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to discuss on arterial blood gas analysis clinical application. So welcome you all once again for this Baby Kid Care 2020. From today onwards, we are going to talk on respiratory critical care or pulmocritical care subjects, which will be very helpful for the students. So goal of this talk, ABG application, is conventional approach. We are not discussing on the Stewart's approach. There are several approaches available. We are going through only conventional approach in this time. It also provides basic principle for understanding acid-base disturbances. We are not discussing on acid-base physiology as such, even though we'll touch upon few physiology so that we can understand this interpretation of ABG in a better way. This is also called 7-step approach. This is modified from Douglas Horney. It's a systematic approach, which is very important for all the students to understand, so that there is no shortcuts here. Only with systematic approach, we can identify the primary disorder, whether there is a composition is adequate or not, or also we can we will come to know whether the mixed acid-base disorder is there or not. So this is the usual ABG we say in day-to-day practice. There is several values are there. One is called blood gas values. Those are measured values like pH, PaCO2, and PO2. There is also some values like oximetry values, which will be seen in some of the ABG machines. It is in some of the machines may not be possible. These oximetry value is helpful to identify whether the patient is having abnormal hemoglobins like a methemoglobin, carbon monoxide, carboxyhemoglobin. These are the one value. These values are very important when you are want to know whether is the abnormal hemoglobinopathies are there in this patient or not. And also there are electrolyte values. These electrolyte values are very helpful in identification of the metabolic acidosis, whether it's high anti-metabolic acidosis or normal anti-metabolic acidosis. And also some we can, even in the recent ABCs, we can find lactate value, glucose, creatinine, even calcium, magnesium values. We can get those values also. There are some values called calculated values, like anion gap, like a correct base excess. These are the calculated values also available. So what we exactly concentrate on this is very few values through which we can identify the acid-base acid-base disorders easily, that is using conventional approach. So here we need pH value, PaCO2, PO2 bicarbonate. So anatomy of the arterial blood gas, as seen most often in the medical record, will be like a pH bar, PaCO2 bar, PaO2 bar, bicarbonate. This is usually people will write in this manner. So first one is 7.40 is pH, usually arterial blood pH. Second one will be PaCO2, arterial carbon dioxide pressure in millimeter mercury. And third one will be PaO2, arterial oxygen pressure in millimeter mercury. And bicarbonate is the fourth one. It will be in a concentration milliequivalent per liter. For the calculation point of view, we always take pH as 7.40 as normal, even though 7.35 to 45 is the range. For calculation point of view, we will take it as 7.40. PaCO2 or PCO2 we will take it as 40, even though the range is 35 to 45, and PaO2 will be considered normal 80 to 100. And bicarbonate, it is values taken as 24 as the normal, even though it is varies from 20 to 28. Why we are taking these values? This is just because for the calculation point of view, so it is very easy for us to calculate if we have a fixed value. Okay, so pH 7.40, PCO2 40, PaO2 are 100, bicarbonate 24. This is usually taken as normal in calculation point of view. So how to read ABG? We'll just go directly to the how to read ABG. Always look at the brief history. The history is very important. If your history is not correlating with the ABG in your hand, means you have to repeat the means if the ABG is not correlating with the patient history, then you have to repeat the ABG. and look at the first you look at the oxygenation before going for the acid-base status. Look at the ventilation, and then comes to this conventional 7-step approach. So this is the ABG. Usually you see we have taken value here pH, PaCO2, PO2, three most important value, and bicarbonate calculated value. If these 4 values we have taken, so here is the history is 63-year-old male, known case of COPD, diabetic hypertension with progressive respiratory distress. So by looking at the history, we know it's a case of COPD means the most of the time we are able to identify respiratory problem in your ABG. There may be possible metabolic problem, but most commonly we have to identify respiratory problem in this patient. So there will be additional metabolic acidosis also, but primarily we are thinking of respiratory problem. So we no need many other values like a bicarbonate excess or standard bicarbonate in these ABCs. If with these 4 values, we can fairly we know what is happening to this patient with this ABC. So looking at the first one is looking at the whether the patient clinically is look like a respiratory problem. Looking at the history wise. Let's come to the oxygenation. The moment we say oxygenation, we have to look at the PaO2. PaO2 or PO2 is here in this case is 45.5. It is low definitely. If FiO2 or 21% in room air, it is low. So it is hypoxemia or hypoxia. So normally we take it as less than 60, get taken as a hypoxia. So when we know there is a hypoxia, then we have to think why there is a hypoxia. That is important. So just reading when value is not important. We have to one step go ahead. If there is hypoxia is there, what are the problems with hypoxia? Identify the cause important. That is a completely a different chapter. I'm not going to talk on that. It involves whether is a VQ mismatch is there or hypoventilation is there. We have to calculate A gradient in these patients. That I'm not going to touch at this point of time. We can discuss that part when we discuss about the physiology of the acute respiratory failure. So next come to the ventilation. The moment we say ventilation, you have to look into the carbon dioxide. Normal carbon dioxide for the calculation point of view is 40. Even though 35 to 45 is the range, 40 will take it. Here PaCO2 is around 101, very high. If the carbon dioxide retention is there, means patient is not breathing well. There is a hypoventilation. So we will use the word hypoventilation when the carbon dioxide is high. Carbon dioxide concentration is high. If the carbon dioxide is low, then we call it as hyperventilation. So this is the status of ventilation. If a PaCO2 is more than 45, indicate hyperventilation. If the PaCO2 is less than 35, indicate hyperventilation. Means patient is breathing more, so that is removing carbon dioxide. So again, just knowing the status of ventilation is important, but also important is identify the cause why there is a hyperventilation, whether we can treat that hyperventilation. Imagine if the patient is having opioid-induced hyperventilation, then we have to treat that opioid treatment. If the patient is having hyperventilation because of head injury, stroke, then we have to intubate those patients. So we should know what to do in those patients. That is again, we can discuss on this in the physiology of respiratory acute respiratory failure. So I'm not discussing in detail. I'm directly going to the acid-base status here. The moment we say acid-base status, among 7 steps, this is the first step. Look at the pH. The most important is pH. The moment you see pH, like it is normal, I told 7.35 to 7.45. Less than 7.35 taken as acidemia, or acidosis is called disorder. pH more than 7.45 we called alkalemia. For calculation, take pH as 7.40 is taken already here. So terms acidemia, alkalemia refers to states in which the blood pH is abnormally low, acidic, or abnormally high, alkaline. It is just a states in which blood pH is there. It's acidic or alkaline. The process in which the hydrogen ion concentration is increased is called acidosis. Acidosis is a disorder. This is a process where hydrogen concentration is increasing. The process where hydrogen concentration decreasing is called alkalosis. It is disorder. So the blood state is called acidemia, alkalemia. The process or disorder is called as acidosis or alkalosis. That's all. So the normal pH is 7.35 to 45, but survival range can go from 6.8 to 8.0. Less than 7.35 or 7.40 we call it as acidosis. More than 7.45 or 7.40 we call it as alkalosis. So this is a broadly we can divide acidosis, alkalosis depending upon the pH. In pH, there is a hydrogen ion constant, hydrogen input will be there to cause the acidosis. It may come from the diet, like a fatty acid, amino acids, or it may be come from metabolism, like carbon dioxide, lactic acid, ketoacidose. Hydrogen ions are added to the blood, it causes acidosis. So immediately it will be buffered by the system. Immediate buffer will be bicarbonate buffer system. There is a intracellular proteins, hemoglobin, phosphate in cells, and also phosphate and ammonia in urine. These are the important physiological buffers which will be helpful to maintain pH to normal when hydrogen is added either by diet or by metabolism. So immediately the ventilation come into picture. It will remove the F plus ion in the form of carbon dioxide. Patient will start breathing higher rate, that's hyperventilate, so that this acidosis will be acidic environment will be normalized, or pH will be normalized. Or even from the kidney, H plus ion will be out. It's removed from the kidney through the kidney, so H plus ion concentration of pH is maintained normal. So these are the defense mechanism. That's called buffer system, instantaneous one, and respiratory composition very rapid, but only for metabolic disorders. And renal composition is slower, but is the one important buffer system which ultimately maintains the pH near normal. So here, in case of bicarbonate in metabolic acidosis, if you add H plus ions with their respect to either it may be any form of H plus ion, like it may be lactic acidosis or renal acidosis or poisoning or anything, diabetic ketoacidosis. Once you add H plus, it will react with the bicarbonate. This is a bicarbonate buffer system. Bicarbonate from carbonic acid. Immediately patient will breathe more and remove carbon dioxide. That's how H plus ion concentration will be maintained normal. So meanwhile, bicarbonate concentration is low. So acidosis means there is a bicarbonate concentration will be low. This low bicarbonate concentration will be maintained either reserved by generation of bicarbonate by the kidney. So kidney generate more and more bicarbonate into the reserve, so that it will be added to the bicarbonate which is used. So ultimately kidney helpful here. So this is how the bicarbonate in acidosis is helpful. So here, if you come to the alkalosis, if we remove H plus ions, what will happen? This carbonic acid will be forms more and more H plus and bicarbonates. So patient will start breathing at a lower rate, so that carbon dioxide will be more increased more. So this bicarbonate concentration increases because of the reaction goes this direction. So what will happen? This bicarbonates, once is more in the blood, cause we call it as alkalosis. It will be added to the bicarbonate reserve. It will be removed by the kidney. Again, kidney comes here in the metabolic alkalosis. This is how the acidosis alkalosis, how a bicarbonate buffer system helps here. This is the most important equation to understand this acid-base disorder. Anderson acid-base equation: pH is equal to pK plus log of bicarbonate divided by PCO2. When the PCO2 concentration increases, bicarbonate increases. When bicarbonate decreases, PCO2 decreases. So it should be maintained, this ratio maintain as much as normal, so that to maintain pH normal. So this is the important of Henderson acid-base equation. So here pH, first we should know in step 1 acidosis or alkalosis. If there is acidosis, then we have to look into two values. One is carbon dioxide, another one is bicarbonate. If carbon dioxide is high, then it's called respiratory acidosis. If bicarbonate is low, then it's called metabolic acidosis. So this is the acidosis we call respiratory acidosis or metabolic acidosis, depending upon whether carbon dioxide is high or bicarbonate is low. If the pH is alkalosis, more than 7.45, then look again with the carbon dioxide and bicarbonate. If carbon dioxide is low, bicarbonate is high, then it refers to the alkalosis. If carbon dioxide is low, then we call it respiratory alkalosis. If bicarbonate is high, we call it as metabolic alkalosis. This is called primary disorders. So if the pH is either less or more, then we should know whether it is a metabolic or respiratory problem. How to identify a metabolic or respiratory problem? Look at the PCO2 or bicarbonate. If PCO2 is the major problem, then it's called respiratory problem. If the bicarbonate is a major problem, then it's called metabolic problem. In case of acidosis, imagine it may be a metabolic or respiratory. If a bicarbonate is low or PCO2 is high, low means how much? Less than 24 for the calculation point of view. PCO2 more than 40, then we call acidosis. If bicarbonate is less than 24, we call it as metabolic acidosis. If PCO2 more than 40, we call it respiratory acidosis. Same wise, alkalemia, if the bicarbonate is more than 24, we call it metabolic alkalosis or metabolic alkalemia. If PCO less than 40, we call respiratory alkalemia or respiratory alkalosis. We'll give some examples, then it will be easy to understand. Here, 63-year-old male, now in case of COPD, diabetic hypertension with progressive respiratory distress. So here, pH is 7.12. So it's less than 7.35. So it's acidemia or acidosis. The moment you say pH is low, look at the carbon dioxide in bicarbonate. If carbon dioxide is high, it correlates with the acidosis, so it is called respiratory acidosis. So first look at the pH, then look at the carbon dioxide and bicarbonate, which is correlated with the low pH. If carbon dioxide is high, which is correlates with the low pH, then it's called respiratory acidemia. So PCO2 is more than 40, like 101, very high. It is called respiratory acidemia. The disorder is called primary respiratory acidosis. I think it's very clear now. Coming to the case 2, look at the pH 7.50. What is this? It is alkalemia or alkalosis. The moment there is alkalosis is there, then look at the either carbon dioxide and bicarbonate, which is correlated with the high pH. So here PCO2 is less than 40, which is correlated with alkalemia. It is called respiratory alkalosis. So pH is high, low PCO2 means there is a respiratory alkalosis. This is a very basic thing. So we call it as primary respiratory alkalosis. We call it as primary respiratory alkalosis, primary disorder. Coming here, case 3 here, pH is low, so it is acidosis. Look at the PCO2. PCO2 looks normal, not much high actually. If PCO2 is high means we have been taken as a respiratory, but it is normal. Look at the bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is low. So low bicarbonate with low pH, we call it as metabolic acidosis. So pH is less than 7.35. Bicarbonate is less than 22. Metabolic acidemia. So disorder is called as primary metabolic acidosis. So if the pH is low, look at the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is not correlated with your pH. Then look at the bicarbonate. If bicarbonate is correlated with the low pH, then it is metabolic acidosis. Here pH is alkalosis. You can see here pH is alkalosis, and PCO2 appears to be normal. It is not correlated with the high pH. Then comes to the bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is more. When the bicarbonate is more, when the pH is showing alkalosis, then it is a metabolic alkalosis. So pH is high, alkalosis. Bicarbonate is more than 24, metabolic alkalosis or alkalemia. So disorder is primary metabolic alkalosis. This is how the disorders is identified very easily. So look at the pH and whether pH is correlated with the CO2 or bicarbonate. That's it you have to see. So coming to the step 3, if the disturbance is metabolic, then you have to look at the compensation. So as I told, is Henderson-Axelbeck equation. If the bicarbonates is reduced, this means PCO2 should reduce to maintain pH normal. So that is compensation. If a metabolic acidosis is happening, bicarbonate is reducing means carbonate should reduce. So how much compensation will be there from respiratory point of view? That is called step 3. For metabolic acidosis, if you use the Winter formula, expected PaCO2 is 1.5 times the bicarbonate plus 8. Plus or minus 2 is taken as range actually. This is the most important equation in acid-base disorder identifications. So especially for the metabolic acidosis. For metabolic alkalosis, we will take this formula. Expected PaCO2 is 0.7 times the bicarbonate plus 21 plus or minus 2. So this is very important. If expected PaCO2 is high or low, then there is a hidden disorder is there. Example, if actual PaCO2 is more than expected, there is a hidden problem is there. That will identify with the example actually. Look at this patient, 35-year-old adult with history of early hanging. The patient is irritable, low GCS, intubated, ventilated. So here they are seeing oxygen. Oxygen is having hyperoxia. There is very high oxygen. So a patient is ventilated, maybe is ventilated with the FiO2 of 100%. You have to reduce the FiO2. Look at the ventilated status also. Ventilation is normal. Normocapnia is there. That's good actually. Look at the pH. pH is less than 7.35. So it's acidosis. So something happening, something contributing for the acidosis. So look at the PaCO2. PaCO2 should be high to call it as respiratory acidosis, but that is not happening. The PaCO2 is normal. Look at the bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is low. If bicarbonate is low, pH is low, means it is a metabolic acidosis. So it's a primary metabolic acidosis. But what we should know is compensation from respiratory. If bicarbonate is 12, what should be the actual or expected PCO2? This is actual PCO2. Expected PCO2 can be calculated from this Winter's formula, 1.5 times the bicarbonate plus 8. So 1.5 plus 12. So plus 8 becomes 26.9 plus or minus 2, 28 to 32. So actual expected PCO2 should be 28 to 32. It should be 28. It should be more than 28 or less than 32. But look at the PCO2 is 37. So actual PCO2 is more than the expected PCO2 once you calculate for the by Winter's formula. So there is a additional carbon dioxide retention is there. So that is called respiratory acidosis. So there is no adequate compensation. First of all, and also there is a mixed acid base disorder is starting here. So PCO2 is higher than the expected. There is a respiratory acidosis there. So by just understanding value is not more important. You should apply clinically. So in this case, pH is low because of metabolic acidosis. We have to correct, maybe require fluids, and why the cause for acidosis we have to identify. And CO2 is high. We have to increase the respiratory rate of ventilator so that PCO2 comes toward this normal 28 to 32, so that pH will be towards normal. But in this patient hanging, better to maintain normal carb as much as possible. That is a different story. So this is the how we calculate compensation. So here another case, diabetic patient, hypertension with respiratory distress, fatigue and loss of appetite. First we'll go to the pH. pH is less than 7.35, looking like a acidosis. Look at the carbon dioxide, it is not high, so it is not a respiratory acidosis. Look at the bicarbonate, bicarbonate is low, less than 24, so it is a metabolic acidosis. The moment we know metabolic acidosis, we have to calculate the expected PCO2. So look at whether the adequate compensation is there or not. So expected PCO2 is 1.5 times the bicarbonate plus 8. This is a Winter's formula. We all should know 1.5 times into 14 plus 8 becomes 29. So range is 27 to 31. So it should be 27 to 31, but PCO2 is 36. So higher than the expected. So there is a respiratory acidosis also. In this case also, there is a metabolic acidosis with not adequate compensation, as well as there is a respiratory acidosis also. So how do you treat this patient? So maybe metabolic acidosis cause you should know, maybe because of in this diabetic patient, maybe diabetic ketoacidosis or lactic acidosis, you have to treat it accordingly. So that is how we can treat here. If the patient is worsening CO2 in spite of your treatment, then you may require ventilation also, because the retaining carbon dioxide is fatiguing actually. In spite of your management, the patient is CO2 retaining, means he is not able to compensate for the metabolic acidosis. He is retaining more and more carbon dioxide. He is getting fatigue, so we have to intubate this patient. That's the importance of the understanding ABZ. So you have to look at, once you know the metabolic acidosis, so look at the compensation is adequate or not. If it is not adequate, if it is very high carbon dioxide, then that is the case for intubation. The patient is getting fatigue. Once you know metabolic acidosis, you should know this. If there is a metabolic acidosis, there anion gap. Why we identify anion gap? So because to know the causes of metabolic acidosis, we should identify whether it is a high anion gap metabolic acidosis or normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. So high anion gap metabolic acidosis means anion gap usually 12. Normal means anion gap is less than 12. So how we calculate anion gap? This is we calculate with the sodium positive ion minus chloride plus bicarbonate negative ions. So how why we are calculating anion gap, we'll discuss I think later maybe in the discussion. But whenever metabolic acidosis is there, we have to calculate anion gap to know the causes of metabolic acidosis. How we calculate anion gap? Once again, sodium minus chloride plus bicarbonate. It should be 12. It should be 12. Actually, if you see in body, there is no anion gap existing in our body, because we are all electrically neutral. We can't have unneutrality of the electrolytes in our body. If one is decreasing, means another one will increase, so that will maintain normal. But it is for the calculation point of view, we are identifying anion gap here by calculating these values: sodium minus chloride plus bicarbonate. It should be normal. It is in this calculation taken as 12. It ranges from 8 to 12. If more than 12 is called high anion gap metabolic acidosis, or it is also called HAGMA. So how to if you know HAGMA or high anion gap metabolic acidosis means there are these are the 4 important causes. One is in critical care areas, one is lactic acidosis, renal acidosis means uremic acidosis, diabetic ketoacidosis, another one is poisoning. These are the 4 disorders always you have to think when there is a high anion gap metabolic acidosis. So lactic acidosis, to understand this, there is a formula to remember this. This is called mud bias. Mud bias. These are the drugs. Methanol. Any alcohol poisoning can increase the high anion gap acidosis. It may be methanol, it may be ethanol, it may be glycol, ethylene glycol, or it will cause increase in the high anion gap metabolic acidosis. Methanol, uremia because of kidney failure, diabetic ketoacidosis, uncontrolled diabetes, paraldehyde comes in the poisoning drugs. Infection, sepsis causes lactic acidosis. Ethylene glycol.
Can't hear you, sir. Cannot hear you.
Means you have to increase the anion gap by 2.5. So that is a calculation that is corrected for albumin. That is called corrected anion gap for albumin. If it is a normal means non-anion gap acidosis result from the loss of bicarbonate or external acid infusion that is maintained by low bicarbonate, but the anion gap is less than 12. It means there is anion gap is less than 12, but still there is acidosis is there. That is result from loss of bicarbonate or loss of or external acid infusion. What are the causes of loss of bicarbonate? Loss of bicarbonate may be because of the gastrointestinal loss, that is called diarrhea, or urethra diversion, fistulas, or maybe a kidney loss, renal loss of bicarbonate. That is, these are the two important actually for the normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. There is one drug called carbonic anhydrase inhibitor Diamox, which is used most of the time in head injuries or to control the CSF. There, the moment you start carbonic anhydrase inhibitor Diamox, after 2 days we are able to see normal anion gap metabolic acidosis in most of the patients. So these are the most common causes actually. We'll come to the case here. This is hypertension, 45-year-old diabetic hypertension, respiratory distress, fatigue. I think we have seen this patient again. pH is 7.23, so it is acidosis. Look, if the acidosis is there, look at the PCO2 and bicarbonate. PCO2 is not high. It's not a respiratory acidosis, so it is a go for the bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is low, so it is a metabolic acidosis. The moment we know metabolic acidosis, we have to look at the compensation. So we use the Venters formula. Expected carbonate, how much to see? Expected PaCO2 is equal to 1.5 times the bicarbonate plus 8. 1.5 into 14 plus 8 comes to the 29. So range is 27 to 31, but carbon dioxide is 34. So it is higher than the expected. So there is a respiratory acidosis there. So there is a metabolic acidosis with respiratory acidosis. My interest here is to calculate the anion gap. Now we got the value of sodium chloride. Sodium is 130, chloride is 100, bicarbonate is 14 from ABC. 130 minus 100 plus 14, 130 minus 114 becomes 16. So more than 12 is taken as a high anion gap metabolic acidosis. So it is a high anion gap metabolic acidosis. That's how we'll calculate. But this reading ABC means we have to apply clinically. We should know why there is a high anion gap metabolic acidosis. Then comes the beauty here. Look at the lactate. If lactate is normal, then it is not a lactic acidosis, not a sepsis in case, or not a sepsis or hypoperfusion. The causes of lactate. If check the RFT. RFT is normal, means there is no kidney failure or no uremic acidosis. Look at the urine ketone bodies comes as positive. So urine ketone bodies positive. There is a high anion gap metabolic acidosis. There means it is a diabetic ketoacidosis. This is how we identify the patient whether it is having decay or not in our ICUs. So sometimes ketone will be still negative positivity will be there because which ketone bodies you identify urine, that is more important. Sometimes how to identify blood ketones also. So if abnormal, if all three are normal, lactate, RFT, urine ketones normal, then think of poisoning. If the patient has taken any alcohol ethylene glycol, those are causing you have to paraldehyde, salicylate, you have to think. So it is a case of decay. Here, 35-year-old admit with history of hanging, same patient actually we have discussed earlier, irritable, low G cell, ventilated actually. Acidosis is there, yes, there is 7.35, lesser than 7.35, pH 7.14, acidosis. Look at the PCO2, it appears to be normal, bicarbonate is 12. So look at the metabolic acidosis. Now compensation you have to see for the 12 bicarb, how much I can expect PCO2. Expect PCO2 is called 1.5 times the bicarbonate plus 8, 1.5 into 12.6 plus 8 comes around 26.9. Range is 28 32 plus or minus 2. So it is more than 32. So again there is a respiratory acidosis there. So again in this case metabolic acidosis, respiratory acidosis. Look at the anion gap, because whenever metabolic acidosis is there, look at anion gap. Anion gap here 130 minus 100. I'm sorry, some calculation problem here. 114 it is. Taken as 100. So we'll take it as anion gap 22 only. If anion gap 22 means again it comes with a HAGMA, high anion gap metabolic acidosis. High anion gap metabolic acidosis, here lactate is 18. So in sometimes ABC itself can tell lactate. Lactate is 18, so it is a clear-cut case of lactic acidosis. RF is normal, ketone body is normal, so lactic acidosis. So this is how we have to identify. Patient need maybe fluids, patient in this case. The moment you have done the metabolic acidosis, we know there is a HAGMA or high anion gap metabolic acidosis or normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. Then you have to calculate, if there is a HAGMA, you have to calculate the delta gap, that is called corrected bicarbonate. This is the most important to know the mixed acid base disorder. We have to correct the bicarbonate in this case. Why we are correcting bicarbonate again means because as I told, anion gap is not existing. It is a taken from calculation point of view. We have taken measure sodium ion, chloride ion, bicarbonate ion. There are several other ions also there, like unmeasured cations, unmeasured anions. So many ions are there, but we are, because of the lesser concentration in the blood, we are not taking that. So we have coming with this some anion gap. Actually, it is not existing. Till now, we have calculated with reference to anion gap as if it is existing. So we are correcting that. How we are correcting? Anion gap minus 12 is called delta gap. Anion gap minus 12 is taken normal actually. Whatever the value we are getting anion gap, that should minus with 12 should add to the measured bicarbonate. It should be always correct. It become correct bicarbonate. It should be always 24. Because why we are taking 24? Because since beginning we are taken 24 is the normal. Because just we are correcting our values, because we have taken instead of range we have taken normal values like a 24. If corrected bicarbonate is greater than 24, then we think as metabolic alkalosis. That is called hidden metabolic alkalosis or mixed acid base disorder. If corrected bicarbonate is less than 24, we call it as non-gap acidosis or normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. We'll see here with example, it will be easier. Same patient I'm taking, I think 45-year-old diabetic, hypertension, respiratory distress, fatigue, loss of appetite. pH is less than 7.35, so it's acidosis. Look at the CO2 is not respiratory. Look at bicarbonate, it is a metabolic, because bicarbonate is 14, less than 24, so it is a metabolic acidosis. The moment we know metabolic acidosis, we should see the composition okay or not. So 14 means expected PCO2 1.5 times the bicarbonate plus 8 become 29, so it become 27 to 31, but it is more than 31 here, so there is mild respiratory acidosis also there. I think we have calculated earlier also this respiratory acidosis. When we know that metabolic acidosis, we always should calculate anion gap. Already it is done here. It is same case earlier. So anion gap is 16. There is a high anion gap metabolic acidosis is there. So it is a high anion metabolic acidosis. Now my interest is whether there is a mixed acid base disorder is there or not. How to calculate? You have to correct bicarbonate. Corrected bicarbonate is equal to measured bicarbonate. Measured bicarbonate is how much? 14. Anion gap is how much here? It is come as 12. Anion gap 16. Anion gap is 16. 16 minus normal we have taken 12. So normal anion gap is taken at 12. So here it has come, anion gap has come as 16. The gap is 16 minus 12. That is 4. When you add 4 to the 14 measured bicarbonate, it becomes 18. It should be 24 because we have taken 24 as normal. If it is less than 24, means there is a hidden normal anion gap metabolic acidosis there. In this case, there is a hidden normal anion gap metabolic acidosis there. Then we have to calculate why there is a normal anion gap metabolic acidosis. Maybe we know that it is a DKA. Maybe Yeah, it's a decay case we have done already. In decay, what will happen? We use sometimes more and more normal saline. Chloride ions will be more. You may see here chlorides is 114. Maybe because of the increase in chloride ions, it's causing hyperchloremic metabolic acidosis. That is a cause for the normal anion metabolic acidosis. Maybe we have to stop normal saline here. So even ABG helpful in the fluid management also. See how it is helping. Even it is helping the fluid management. In this case, I am stopping normal saline because it contains more chloride ions. If you use more and more chloride ions, it becomes hyperchloremic metabolic acidosis. That is normal anion metabolic acidosis, most common cause in critical care. So here, same case actually. Again, a leaked history of hanging case. That patient is ventilated here. Same case I'm taking here. pH 7.35. So it is acidosis. Look at the bicarbonate. It's a metabolic acidosis. It is not respiratory because carbonate is normal. You have to calculate the composition for the metabolic. So 12 compensation for respiratory. Expected PCO is equal to 1.5 times the bicarbonate plus 8. It comes around 26. Range is 28 to 32. It is a 37. So again, it's a metabolic acidosis plus respiratory acidosis. So we have calculated anion gap. 130 minus 100 plus 12.6 become 22. So its anion gap is come as 22. Some calculation here, some problem 100 is there. Okay, so that's sorry for that, but we'll take it as anion gap 12 actually. So once you know that, corrected. Well, now you know that whether it's a hidden acidosis or not, a hidden alkalosis there or not. So you have to correct bicarbonate. Correct bicarbonate is equal to measure bicarbonate plus anion gap minus 12. Anion gap here it is 22 minus 12 become 10. 10 plus 12 is the measure bicarbonate become 22. So it is less than 24, means it is not near normal, because 24 means we have to take plus or minus 2. So there is no normal anion metabolic acidosis, there is no metabolic alkalosis. It's the only high anion metabolic acidosis. So we are seeing that there is no acidosis, normal anion acidosis, or there is a metabolic alkalosis. Coming to the if normal anion metabolic acidosis, this I discussed already. It is because of the loss of bicarbonate. As I mentioned earlier, loss of bicarbonate or external acid infusion is very rare actually, managed by low bicarbonate. Occurs when the decrease in bicarbonate ions correspond with the increase in chloride ions to retain electroneutrality. The moment bicarbonate concentration reduces, so chloride comes out, what will happen to maintain the electroneutrality, which is also known as hyperchloremic metabolic acidosis. Usually because will be GI loss of bicarbonate, that will be most common cause. Fistula, diarrhea, renal loss of bicarbonate, diuretics, carbonic anhydrase inhibitor diamox, compensation for respiratory alkalosis is cause for metabolic acidosis, renal tubular acidosis, urethral diversion. This is infusion of very rare actually ammonium chloride infusion. So this is how we can remember hard up. Hard means H means hyperalimentation, A means acetozolamide, RTA, renal tubular acidosis, one of the common cause, not common, one of the cause for NAGMA, normal anion metabolic acidosis, diarrhea, ureterosigmoidostomy, pancreatic fistula. So if you come to the, this is called NAGMA, we call it NAGMA, normal anion gap. Then to identify the cause for NAGMA, we have to look into the urinary anion gap. Urinary anion gap is the next step here in case of normal anion gap acidosis. How we calculate? Urinary sodium plus urinary potassium minus urinary chloride. We are taking sodium, potassium minus chloride. If it is negative, means it is a gastrointestinal cause, is the cause for the NAGMA. Gastrointestinal means loss of bicarbonate is from GIT tract. If it is positive, think of RTA, renal tubular acidosis, means this bicarbonate loss is happening to the through kidney. Then do urine pH. So this is how we calculate. In case of hyperchloremic acidosis, look at anion gap. Anion gap is negative, GI loss. Positive, kidney, that is RTA. Look at the pH. If pH is low, urine pH is low, urine pH less than 5.5, that becomes proximal renal tubular acidosis. If pH is more, it is either type 1 or type 4 RTA, depending upon the serum potassium. If serum potassium is low, it becomes type 1 RTA. If serum potassium is high, it becomes type 4 RTA. Type 4 RTA means comes with the aldosterone, renin aldosterone deficiency, it comes here. So this how we can calculate, even go up to the what are the hormonal level also we can go. Hormonal as a problem also you can identify by looking at the whether it is a normal anion metabolic acidosis or not. So this is one case here, 26-year-old male, case of RTA, received in ICU from OT after having surgery done for mandible repair, not fully awake, heart rate, BP, saturation reasonable, He was not on ventilator. After 30 minutes, he arrested. So AB is taken after arrest. So usually pH will be low in arrest, 7.00. So it is acidosis. And look at the PCO2 is high and bicarbonate is also high. So we can take either respiratory acidosis or metabolic acidosis. Here they have taken metabolic acidosis. The moment you take metabolic acidosis, you have to look at the respiratory compensation. 1.5 times the bicarbonate plus 8 comes around 35 plus or minus 2. There is something wrong here. It is PCO2 is definitely more than the expected 35. It is 73. So there is a respiratory acidosis also. So there is a metabolic acidosis plus the respiratory acidosis. So then calculate the Hahn gap. 141 sodium chloride 102 and potassium with the bicarbonate is 18. That comes around 20. It's a high Hahn gap metabolic acidosis. So cause here lactate is high. So just to know the lactic acidosis more. So another case here, 45-year-old man, one patient with a cirrhosis of liver, cough, fever 1 week duration, decreased urine output, 1 day duration. The moment you say cough, fever, the respiratory problem is also there, and also decreased urine output, metabolic problem is also there. So we are expecting here some mixed disorder here. Okay, patient coming with breathlessness, respiratory failure. Look at the pH, acidosis less than 7.35, and look at the bicarbonate, metabolic acidosis less than 24. So expected PCO2 here is 1.5 times the bicarbonate plus 8 comes around 33. 33 means it's a primary metabolic acidosis because it is around 35. 33 means 31 to 35 is the range. So it is a pure metabolic acidosis. There is no respiratory problem, additional respiratory problem. Look at the sodium, potassium chloride. Come to the anion gap. Anion gap is around 23. So HAGMA is there. High anion gap metabolic acidosis is there in this case. So high anion gap means we have to know whether it's hidden acidosis, normal anion gap acidosis or alkalosis there or not. So for this you have to calculate here corrected bicarbonate, measured bicarbonate plus anion gap minus 12 gap. So anion gap here is 23 minus 12 plus 17 comes around 30. So it is more than 24. If corrected bicarbonate is more than 24, means there is a hidden metabolic alkalosis. There is a hidden metabolic alkalosis. So it is another case. Maybe again I'm quoting for metabolic alkalosis. Chronic smoker, hypertension, diabetes, and coming with the cough and expectoration, decreased urine mode. Again, this is a case of both metabolic and respiratory problem. Look at the pH 7 here. Hypoxemia is there. PO2 is 68, PCO2 is 77. It is a hypoventilation is happening. pH is 7.11 is acidosis. Low pH with the low pH with high PCO2. Here comes the primary acidosis. So it's a case of here pH is low, but PCO2 is 77. That is pouring with the pH. It is a respiratory acidosis. Primary respiratory acidosis. So how to calculate go with respiratory acidosis? I will discuss in next slides. Sorry for this. I will come with the respiratory acidosis. Here comes the respiratory acidosis. Before that, we'll finish this metabolic alkalosis also. Metabolic alkalosis result from the elevation of serum bicarbonate. Example, maybe most commonly it's a loss of gastric fluid and use of diuretic. Most of the time cause for metabolic alkalosis. It may be because of volume contraction like vomiting, overdiuresis, ascites, or because of hypokalemia, alkali ingestion. These are the common causes. Excess glucose and mineralocorticoids or Bartter syndrome. How to identify these causes in metabolic alkalosis? So whenever the patient comes to metabolic alkalosis, look at the urinary chloride. If chloride is less than 20, means it's a chloride responsive metabolic alkalosis. If chloride is more than 40, then it is a chloride resistant metabolic alkalosis. So here it is a clear cut, like a less than 20, more than 40. In between 20 to 40, again there will be a problem. If it is a less than 20, chloride responsive metabolic alkalosis means there is the most common cause volume depletion. We have to use fluid here. So it will be response for saline infusion. Other causes will be just previous diuretic therapy, vomiting may be the cause. If urine chloride is more than 40, that is because of chloride resistant metabolic alkalosis. Often also with the expansion, so it doesn't respond for the fluid, and also there will be hypokalemia, resistant to therapy with saline. So most common will be aldosterone excess, severe potassium deficiency, or Bartter syndrome. How to identify these syndromes? So look at urinary chloride, either chloride responsive or chloride resistant. Chloride responsive means most of the time it's a dehydration due fluids. If chloride resistant more than 40, then you have to identify whether there is a BP. If the patient is having chloride resistant more than 40, low or normal BP is there, it comes with the either possibility of Gitelman syndrome or Bartter syndrome if there is a potassium is more than 30. If there is a high blood pressure, then possibility of apparent mineralocorticoid excess with hypokalemia. So this how clinically we have to correlate here. If the chloride resistant metabolic alkalosis is there, so we have to look at first potassium. Potassium is low, maybe positive laxative abuse. Potassium is high, possibility of either Gitelman syndrome, Bartter syndrome, or mineralocorticoid excess, mineralocorticoid excess. If it is a low urinary calcium, comes the Gitelman syndrome. High urinary calcium comes the Bartter syndrome. So this is how even acid-base disorder we can identify even these syndromes also. This is last step. You can consider in early step also if there is a patient is having primary respiratory disturbance. So the moment there is a metabolic, there is the pH is varying and there is a carbon dioxide problem is there, we call it as respiratory problem. The moment we know respiratory problem, we have to divide either acute or chronic. How to divide acute or chronic? That depends on the pH. If pH is deviating grossly from the normal, it may be acute pH, acute respiratory problem, respiratory acidosis or alkalosis. To identify that, we have this formula: expected delta pH is equal to 0.08 into delta PCO2 less than 10. So in that case, it is taken as acute respiratory problem. If expected delta pH varies with the 0.03 into delta PCO2, it is taken as chronic. PCO2 by 10 taken as chronic respiratory problem. So here, how we calculate the primary disorder is if you know acute or chronic, then look at whether there is a compensation or not. In case of acute respiratory acidosis, how much bicarbonate is increasing? If there is a respiratory alkalosis there, how much bicarbonate is decreasing? That we should know this formula. Just I go through the example, that will be easier for you. Whenever there is an acute respiratory acidosis is there, means carbon dioxide retention is there. When the carbon dioxide retention is there, bicarbonate should increase. So this bicarbonate rises by 1 millimole per liter for every 10 millimeter mercury increase PCO2 above 40. If PCO2 is increasing from 40 to 60, means increase by 20. So this bicarb increases like a 1 millimole per liter for every 10, means it increases by 2. So like that actually. So bicarbonate rises in case of acute respiratory acidosis by 1 millimole per liter for every 10 millimeter mercury increase in PCO2 above 40. So you should always know this formula, or you can remember like this. In case of chronic respiratory acidosis, there is a more bicarbonate increase will be there. It is a slow onset, appreciable in 12 to 24 hours, may not peak up to 3 to 5 days. Slow but effective one, very effective one. Average 4 millimole per liter increase in bicarbonate occurs every 10 millimole mercury increase in PCO2 from 40. If from 40, every 10 increase, 4 increases. That is either you can use this formula or you can remember like this. So we come to the example will be easier actually. Coming to the alkalosis, as I told, alkalosis is the carbon dioxide reducing is bicarbonate dioxide should reduce. There is a drop in bicarbonate in case of acute respiratory alkalosis by 2 millimole per liter for every 10 millimole mercury decrease in PCO2 from 40. So the maximum composition up to 18. You can remember this formula: delta bicarbonate is equal to 2 by 10 into change in PCO2. In case of chronic respiratory alkalosis, this decrease will be by 5 millimole per liter decrease in bicarbonate for every 10 millimeter mercury decrease in PCO2 from 40. So if you take this example, progressive respiratory distress syndrome and so on, looks like a respiratory problem. pH is less than 7.30. It's a acidosis. Okay, look at the carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is high, which is correlating with the pH value. That is called respiratory acidosis. pH carbon dioxide is 76. It's more than 745. So it is a respiratory acidosis. So we know respiratory acidosis means we should identify that it's acute or chronic first before compensation. How to identify acute? We can use this formula: change in PCO2. Acute change in pH is equal to we use this formula. Actually. Acute expected change in pH is equal to 0.08 into change in PCO2 by 10. That formula we are using here. So expected change in PCO2 is equal to 76 is the 76 PCO2 minus 40 become 36, 36 by 10 into 0.08 become 0.29, means pH varies from 2.29. So its acidosis, it should reduce 7.40 minus 0.29 becomes 7.11. If it is an acute respiratory acidosis, expected pH should be 7.11, but it is 7.30, so it is a chronic respiratory acidosis. We can use the other formula also, like a 0.03 into change in PCO2 by 10. It comes expected pH comes 7.30. It correlates with the chronic respiratory acidosis. So it's a clear-cut case of chronic respiratory acidosis. In case of chronic respiratory acidosis, you should use the how much compensation is there for bicarbonate should increase, because carbonate increase means bicarbonate also should increase. That comes formula by 4 by 10. For rise in PCO2 above 40 is 4 times actually. 4 by 10 into change in PCO2, that become 14.4. Should add this 14 to the normal 24, become 38. So there is good compensation. 38 means plus or minus 2, the pure respiratory acidosis. It's a little bit difficult actually, but if you do regularly in your practice, we know whether it is acute or chronic respiratory acidosis, then we can do the compensation is adequate or not. So these are the common problem with acidosis. It is not just knowing the number, you should know why there is acidosis there, because of the CNS problem, pneumothorax, pneumonia. You have to treat that accordingly. This is again one more patient, last patient actually, broken tibia with fever, I think. Broken tibia with the maybe pain. So alkalosis is there. So alkalemia, pH is PCO less than 40 is a respiratory alkalosis. If acute means formula here, expected delta pH is equal to 0.08 into change in PCO2 by 10. Change in PCO2 is 40 normal, 27 taken as 28 here. 40 minus 28 is 12. So it comes in 7.49. So 7.49, 7.52. So looks like a acute respiratory acidosis. If you look at the compensation, bicarbonate comes around 21, so it is a bicarbonate 22, so it is look like a pure acute respiratory alkalosis. This is we have to do some formula calculation here. So we have to identify formula from the respiratory disorder to know. So where we see alkalosis, maybe because of the CNS event, CNS hemorrhage, drugs, salicylate, pregnancy, most common physiological respiratory alkalosis, decreased lung complaints, liver cirrhosis, and anxiety. Sometimes we know whether the ABC is normal or not. How to identify this? So you should use this modified Henderson equation, like a H plus ion concentration into bicarbonate divided by PCO2 should be 24. H plus ion concentration is taken from this graph actually. H plus ion concentration, if you look at the pH is 7.52 means comes here. You should take it as H plus concentration is around 30. 30 divided into bicarbonate 29 divided by PCO2, 80 should be 24. If it is not 24 means ABC is wrong. That's why we can know whether ABC is wrong or not. So thanks for attention. I've taken almost around 50 minutes. If any questions, I'm very happy to answer. Hello. Any questions, please? Any questions, please? Whether you are able to understand or okay, I just see who is talking. I see everyone. Okay, you can put your video on or mic on and talk. Hello. If nobody is speaking, I don't know whether you understood completely or not understood.
Hello, sir. The composition of respiratory acidosis was not been. It was very fast, sir.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Good
Please.
afternoon, sir. Respiratory acidosis, the changes acute and chronic. It was quite very fast, sir. I couldn't catch.
Madam, identify yourself.
I'm Dr. Rubina, sir,
Hello, may I know who is
from
speaking?
Kaveri Hospital. I'm Dr. Rubina, sir,
Rubina.
from Kaveri Hospital.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
I wanted
got
to
you.
know
Yeah,
the
please.
acute and chronic, acute
Tell
and
me,
chronic respiratory acidosis differentiation, sir. It was very
Hello?
fast. I couldn't catch up. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Can you just
Yeah.
put it in a chat box, ma'am? We are experiencing
Okay,
a
fine.
bit of technical problems, so sir can read your question.
Sorry.
Can you just put it in a chat box?
Okay, if there is no questions, you can put the question even in chat box also.
Fluoride
Okay.
toxicity in diabetic
Somebody is
ketoacidosis.
coming up. Yeah, please.
Chloride toxicity in diabetic ketoacidosis. Is it wise to use sodium chloride in diabetic ketoacidosis?
Diabetic ketoacidosis. Yes, sir.
Chloride toxicity is known in diabetic ketoacidosis. Can you wise to use normal saline excess, or what is the quantity and of using normal saline in diabetic ketoacidosis? Yes, normal saline is quite contraindicated in diabetic ketoacidosis since it causes chloride toxicity.
Okay. Thank you, sir. It's a very good question actually. Whenever there is a diabetic ketosis, will end up usually they require a lot of fluids actually. So usually we start with either normal saline or RL, sometimes half normal saline. So what will happen when they end up with the more and more normal saline, sir? The chloride content in the normal saline increases significantly. So patient will come with the high anion gap metabolic acidosis. It will be correcting bicarbonate towards normal, but next 1 or 2 days the patient is receiving still normal saline continuously. Then you take ABG, again pH bicarbonate start dropping. If you calculate in that ABG, there will be a usually normal anion gap metabolic acidosis because of the increase in chloride ions. Hyperchloremic metabolic acidosis, one of the major complications with the normal saline, not usual dose, with a higher dose. If you use larger volume of normal saline, then only you can see this hyperchloremic metabolic acidosis. If you are using normal saline, in that case, you have to stop normal saline. The patient still requiring fluids, you can ask the patient to drink more and more water. Plain water is the best answer there. Or if the patient is not able to take plain water, vomiting is there, then we can use half normal saline is the answer there, sir. So that's the way. If with the ABG becoming a high anion gap to become normal anion gap, there is a possibility we are giving more and more this saline causing hyperchloremic metabolic acidosis. That is the point there, sir, actually.
And still be you can use off normal saline
So,
in the case of dehydration and ketoacidosis. Can we use still
Hello,
off
sir?
normal? Can we still use off normal saline in patient with a
It is not
dehydration?
clear.
Yes, sir. Ravi, sir. I'll answer Ravi sir's question.
Okay.
Yeah, you can, sir. If the patient is requiring fluid,
There is questions from the chat box. How can you, sir, can you explain chronic and or acute respiratory acidosis? That was a bit fast. Okay, that I will do again. Yeah, it was a bit fast because it was just timing was reaching there. So I will take that ABG, that part again. How to identify acute or chronic? Here in this case, you can see here a patient is coming here with the 30-year-old female broken tibia. Okay, pH, if you look at pH here, alkalosis is there. Okay, PCO2 less than 40, look like a respiratory alkalosis. So I want to know whether acute or chronic. Then use the formula, that is, if acute, the change in pH should be 0.08 into change in PCO2 by 10. So I want to know if there is acute, how much pHe should be there if it is acute. So there is a formulas are there. If I put this formula in this case, change in pH should be 0.08 into change in PCO2. Change in PCO2 is 40 is normal. PCO2 here in this case is 27.9 taken as 28. 40 minus 28 is 12. So 0.08 into 12 by 10, this much pH should change. In this case, 0.08 into change in PCO2 40 minus 20 to the 40 minus 28 divided by 10 becomes 0.09. So pH should reduce by increase by 0.09 because it's alkalosis. So pH should be 7.49. So this if you calculate, if it is a acute one, it should be a 7.49 plus or minus 0.02 will be there. So it is almost near to the pH value 7.52. So it's taken as acute respiratory alkalosis. If it is a chronic, then we can use the formula expected change in pH equal to 0.03 into change in PCO2 by 10. Then we can see 0.03 into, it will come, pH will be slightly more than the 7.52. It will not correlate. You can calculate yourself with this ABG also. So if it is acute, if I'm getting expected pH is 7.49, which is correlating with our ABG pH, so we are taking it as acute respiratory alkalosis. So in this case, second case, if I see here, here it is a respiratory acidemia. Okay, I know whether acute or chronic. Acute change in pH. If it's acute, expected pH should be okay. Change in pH divided by 10 into 0.08. Change in PCO2. Change in PCO2 is 76 minus normal is 40. So 36. 36 divided by 10 into 0.08 becomes 0.29. So pH should minus from 7.40 because it is acidosis. So it comes around 7.11. So if it is acute respiratory acidosis, pH should be 7.11, but it's 7.30. So it is not acute, it is a chronic. You can put the formula of other one like a 0.03 into change in PCO2 by 10. That case pH comes 0.10. So if you minus with this 7.40, 7.40 minus 0.10 becomes 7.30. It correlates with the chronic. So it is called, it's called chronic respiratory acidosis. So you have to identify the acute or chronic by using the expected change in pH. Expected change in pH. This is the formula. Expected change in pH for acute, expected change in pH for chronic. Whether I'm okay with that? Amara, yeah. Swati Jagdish, how to identify whether it is VBG or mixed sample? So VBG means there is a PCO2 slightly higher than the arterial blood sample, carbon dioxide oxygen slightly lower. Okay, slightly higher, and PCO2 will be PO2 will be very low. So we can easily identify whether it is a arterial blood sample or venous blood sample. Any other question? Okay, this again PPT will be given in the Webikity Care WhatsApp group, and also we will send the webinar recording. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of you. Thank you.